Edward, Gordon, and Henry. The other engines often went through the tunnel where Henry had been bricked up. The kinder engines, like Edward and Aaron Taylor, would often say hello. But the rude engines, Gordon, Alan, who was Aaron's brother, and Alan and Aaron's cousin Marcia, would say that it served Henry right. The poor engine had no steam to answer. His fire had gone out. Soot and dirt from the tunnel roof had spoiled his lovely green paint and red stripes anyway. He was cold and unhappy, and he wanted to come out and pull trains too. Gordon always pulled the express. He was proud of being the only engine strong enough to do so. There were many heavy coaches full of important people, like the fat controller who had punished Henry. Gordon was seeing how fast he could go.
Hurry, hurry, hurry!
He panted. Chickadee-chock, 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 hummed the coaches. Gordon would see Henry's tunnel in a minute.
In a minute,
He thought.
I'll whistle at Henry and rush through and out into the open again.
Closer and closer he came. He was almost there when he was in a cloud of steam and going slower and slower. His driver stopped the train.
What has happened to me?
Asked Gordon.
I feel so weak.
You've burst your safety valve, said the driver. You can't pull the train anymore.
Oh dear, said Gordon. You were going so nicely too. And look at Henry laughing at me.
Gordon made a face at Henry and blew smoke at him. Everybody got out and came to see Gordon.
Humph,
Said the fat controller.
I never liked these big engines. Always going wrong. Send for another engine at once.
While the guard went to find one, they uncoupled Gordon and ran him on a siding out of the way. The only engine left in the shed was Edward. I'll come and try, he said. Gordon saw him coming.
That's no use,
He said.
Edward can't pull the train.
Edward puffed and pulled, but he couldn't move the heavy coaches,
I told you so.
said Gordon.
Why not let Henry try?
Yes, said the fat controller.
I will. Will you help pull this train, Henry?
He asked. Oh, yes, please, said Henry at once. So Gordon's crew lit his fire, and they drove him out of the tunnel once he had steam. He was dirty. His boiler was black, and he was covered in cobwebs. He ran round through the open part of the tunnel, and the fat controller spoke to him kindly.
You better have a run to ease your joints and find a turntable.
Henry puffed past Edward and Gordon, groaning and hissing as he went back to the yard. Oh, I'm stiff. Oh, I'm stiff, he groaned. Soon, he came back feeling much better, and they put him in front. I'm ready, called Edward. So am I, replied Henry. Pull hard, we'll do it. Pull hard, we'll do it, they puffed together. The heavy coaches jerked and began to move, slowly at first, then faster and faster. We've done it together! We've done it together! We've done it together! Called Edward and Henry. You've done it, hooray! You've done it, hooray! You've done it, hooray! Sang the coaches. All the passengers were excited. The fat controller leaned out of his window to wave at Edward and Henry, but the train was going so fast that his hat blew off into a field where a goat ate it for tea. They didn't stop until they reached the big station at the end of the line. The passengers all got out and said thank you, and the fat controller promised Henry a fresh coat of green with red stripes. Edward and Henry went home quietly, and on their way, they helped Gordon back to the shed. All three engines are now great friends. Henry doesn't mind the rain now, because he knows the best way to keep his paint nice is not to run into tunnels, but to ask his driver to rub him down when the day's work is over.